And good morning. How we doing this morning, Cameron?
I'm doing all right. I totally forgot to set my alarm. It's a good thing everybody else in our collective group gets up early, because when one of the Steves sent a text message, that was the thing that woke me up.
Well, thank God for that. I don't see him in the chat yet, but I'm sure he'll be there because, well, we already know he's awake.
No excuses. Yes.
Oh, so what are we talking about this morning?
Economy of scale, space flight, just all sorts of...
Yes, sir. Check it out.
I saw so many different takes about this on Twitter over the weekend. Like, it really ran the gauntlet. And there was one, I think, by Hotep Jesus that was really funny. That was, rich guy went to space. Now we're moving on.
Yeah, see, here's the thing. Well, let's talk about that he went to space a little bit. We'll talk about this. Actually is important. This actually does matter. This has real important, valuable implications and consequences for the world. So, Extra Virgin, Richard Branson spaceflight, amazing video shows billionaire floating on the edge of the world with Virgin Galactic. So for one, he live streamed from space, which says good things about the future of the technology, by the way. So Sir Richard Branson's Virgin Galactic space launch has won his battle to become with Elon Musk okay. Copy, editor, please. So, he's won his battle with Elon Musk to become the first billionaire in space. The rocket ship launched the 70-year-old and his crew from Spaceport America in the New Mexico desert. Tropical storms had delayed the launch before setting off at around 3:30. Branson, known as Astronaut 001, soared into space in his blue spacesuit aboard Virgin spaceship Unity, a 62-foot rocket-powered space plane nestled between the twin hulls of Mothership Eve, which propelled them to an altitude of around 55 miles. 55 miles up. Guys, that's up there. So, yeah, not a rocket. Unlike most spaceflight companies, Virgin Galactic does not use a rocket to reach space. Instead, its VSS Unity rocket plane ascends toward the heavens strapped to an enormous carrier plane called White Knight 2. And then at around 50,000 feet above the surface, it detaches from its mothership. For comparison, commercial airliners fly at 30,000 feet. Once separated, unit fires up its rocket engines. I thought it wasn't a rocket. And flies at a near vertical angle into suborbital space. Okay, cool. Whatever. Why did Branson sue the NHS? Okay. Dawn of a new space age. Richard is said to have a net worth of around $3.8 billion as a self-made businessman who launched his company Virgin almost 50 years ago. And then it's just some... Uh-oh, we lost Cameron for a minute. We'll get him back. Steve points out 51 miles is the start of space. So, Cameron, did we just get you back? I don't know what's going on with Cameron, so I'm going to hang up on him and we'll try to get him back in a minute. Anyway. Oh. Well, now we're waiting on the damn phone to ring. Live is hard mode. Live is hard mode. So.
Especially when I'm driving through.
Yep. Oh yeah, your connection sucks. Just be quiet for a few minutes and see if you get a better handoff on that Wi-Fi. Which is funny because I was just commenting on how Branson live streaming from space speaks well to the future of the technology. So, here's why it matters. A billionaire went to space. Okay, so a guy with all the money in the world can afford to just go to space because he wants to. 25 years ago, a flat screen television was a $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 investment. Only the very, very wealthy could have it. Right? And, 50 years before that, just having a television was an expensive luxury. So what we're looking at here is the beginning of something new. Now, I don't know what space exploration, what affordable space exploration is going to mean for us. Because, like we've talked about on this show many times in the past, you look at if you look at the math and the probabilities in an infinite space, there's an infinite probability that there is intelligent life out there. But even at light speed, the closest star to us is 4 years away. And once you start talking about trying to travel distances that are measured in light years, you're getting into some complex differential equations to calculate the rate of energy efficiency increase over the time distance of fuel weight decay that just, well, I can do the math, but it really pisses me off to mess with it. It's to build the ship that can travel that distance when you're trying to simply go at the speed of light, if you can even achieve it, and carrying the fuel required to generate the energy, assuming you can even achieve even high fractional light speeds. You're talking about having to build extra large spacecraft that the bigger they are, the more fuel it takes to propel them, and the more fuel it takes to propel them, the heavier they are, and the more, the bigger. That's the thing that keeps you from traveling great distances.
But even just traveling around our own local group is
right.
Man.
And you can think about it. Think about it in these terms. Before we had really efficient power system, just motors and engines, traveling from Europe to America on a boat under wind power, under sail power. Okay, you didn't have to store the energy to use the sails, and that was a major that's a major thing. That's a big deal. But it takes a long time to make the trip. Months, right? So you have to build a ship that's large enough to carry enough food for the crew, but the bigger the ship gets, the more crew you need, which means the more food you need. And so there's a point at which you're building more ship than you can crew and feed. And that also complicates, how many people can go on the ship that aren't crew. And the smaller the ship, the more the ratio of passenger to crew has to bias itself toward people who are actively useful for the journey itself, and makes it more difficult to move like groups of settlers. So that's, that was a problem similar to the problem of trying to travel across great distances of space. But like I was saying, 20 years ago, a flat screen television would cost you half a mortgage. 50 years before that, a black and white television was barely an affordable luxury for many people. Now, your average full-time welfare recipient broodmare has central heating, central air, domestic plumbing, a flat screen television, a video game console. They're still sitting on lawn chairs because, well, it's that kind of fiscal decisions that got them on the welfare rolls to begin with. But your people in poverty in the United States today are watching flat screen televisions, have a microwave and an oven in the kitchen, have central air and heating, own a car, right? Have indoor plumbing and a smartphone, because you have to have access to Twitter. It's a human right. It's a natural human right to be able to access Twitter and Facebook so that you can bitch about how poor you are and how capitalism failed you. So this billionaires going to space, it's the next flat screen television. So all we need now is zero-G porn.
Well, of course.
Hey, there is nothing you can sell that will not be turned into pornography. And pornography makes markets. It's that simple. Betamax was beaten out by VHS because VHS tapes were cheaper to manufacture, and the porn industry decided to go that route. The Laserdisc was beaten by the CD and the DVD because they were smaller, and people didn't want to carry a big Laserdisc out of the porn store, so they went with the DVD because you could put them on. It's a smaller medium. People could stick it in their pocket and hide the fact that they were toting it around with them after they went and bought it. Same thing when Blu-ray was fighting with HD DVD, and it was the HD DVD in HP laptops versus Blu-ray in PlayStation 2s. And all of a sudden, fanboys preferred the Blu-ray, and so HD DVD died and went away. This has happened in other industry standards as well. The porn industry it makes market decisions for the whole globe. So, yep, the next thing we need is a zero-G menage a trois, and we'll be on Alpha Centauri within the decade.
Well, I don't know if I'd go quite that far.
Neither would I. It's hyperbole for comedy's sake, but we're there.
Yeah. Okay. So on the one
I also wouldn't go that far, as in I wouldn't go to Alpha Centauri. I'm good. Both feet firmly on terra firma. I'm not interested in going to space personally. Although I am interested in the human race going to space.
Okay. So big Star Trek nerd growing up. Like seriously, if Captain Kirk showed up right now, y'all, I see in a couple of years. Like that would literally be how that would go. The only thing that would even give me pause would be how much I would miss my children. Okay, but I'd probably still go, right? However, that's fantasy. These short little space flights, I think they're going to be a thing, and I think maybe not quite as rapidly as the flat screen television, but within our lifetime, we'll see some type of quote unquote affordable space tourism. But even doing simple things like going to the moon are going to be extremely challenging. There are so many things on our planet that we take just absolutely for granted. Our magnetosphere, our ozone layer, the specific amount of gravity that we have in relationship to being in the Goldilocks zone near the sun. And I say all that to say, space will kill you, okay? There's a reason why...
Yes!
There's a reason why astronauts, even those that are on the International Space Station, they're not supposed to be up there past a certain point. There's all these problems that happen. You have muscles that decay. You have bones that decay. The effect of gravity on your body is extremely important. Everything about the evolution of every creature that lives on this planet evolved to coincide with the fact that there's gravity on this planet. And then once you take it away, but look, I'm not trying to be a wet blanket, okay?
Well, no, you're making a very good and important point. Like, for, let's say you get a oh, hey, apparently DJ Scotty's playing us live right now. So, hell yeah, here's a shout. In fact, since nobody else has won it yet, since Scotty took the time to join us this morning, I'll throw him the top comment badge. But that's one to beat. I'm looking for some good comedy in the section there. What was I going to say? Oh, so what you're talking about with just gravity making your muscles work and all that stuff. Here's an example. You've got a caterpillar, weaves a cocoon, and eventually emerges from the cocoon as a butterfly. Well, if you as a curious child, for example, were to find that cocoon, realize that it's almost ready to open up and let the butterfly out, even if the butterfly is like it's so on the point of being ready to get out that you can see the cocoon moving, the butterfly's already starting to tear its way out and escape from the cocoon. If you, say, take a pocket knife or a pair of tweezers or whatever and help the butterfly out of the cocoon, you will have deprived the butterfly of the struggle, the physical struggle that it used at that point in its development to develop the muscles it needs, and its wings won't work. It'll be able to move them, but it won't have enough strength to use them to fly, and it will die because of it. If you take that struggle away, you will cause the butterfly to die from simply being too physically weak to move around enough to go hunt and feed.
Gotcha. Well, what I was driving at is that there's going to be so many problems with space tourism, so many logistical hurdles to overcome. I mean, your ship analogy actually really works, because one of the real problems with being at sea for long periods of time is not only scurvy, but actually maintaining a supply of potable water.
Yep.
Both are extremely challenging over long periods of time. You can make a whole bunch of hardtack and salt cod, and that stuff will last just about forever. But then when it comes time to not get the scurvy and actually have fresh potable water, now it's extremely challenging. And obviously they figured out ways to do it because people sailed all over the world, for centuries, blah, 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 blah. However, just going to the moon and back, it's honestly, it amazes me that we made it there and made it back. Like, ooh, because God, we really didn't know what we were doing at all, right? And then when you scale a lot of those other problems up, just the amount of radiation that's in space, for example, it's shocking. You get hit by some stray particle, and boom, now you are like 20 times more likely to get cancer and all this other stuff. And again, I'm not saying that these are not things that can't and even won't eventually be overcome, but I think the thing where, like, you do the week-long pleasure cruise to the dark side of the moon, I think that is decades away. It just is. And
I don't know if I'd say it's decades away, but I think the thing that we're going to see before we see really commercially available, like, space tourism, there's some math on the angle of trajectory where if getting into space can be made significantly less expensive, there might be a vantage here where using it as a means of transportation for goods, right, to replace the shipping lanes. All of a sudden, if you can just launch a rocket up into space with all of your manufactured commercial products that you want to move from China to the U.S., and then the return flight is basically it just falls in a lake or in the ocean right off the coast, that might have real useful, viable commercial applications. And that might be the thing that we see get implemented before this. But if Branson is going to be marketing his flights to people with enough money to spend, $250,000 on an afternoon of novelty, that will be the thing that increases the production, and the supply then creates the demand, and the demand inflates the supply, and inflated supply leads to bulk production, which leads to lower prices.
I don't doubt that
Steve says intercontinental ballistic cutting boards. That gets a legit top comment, not just a welcome to the show, Scotty.
I don't doubt that will happen, but you're going to reach a certain point where, I mean, these 20-minute, 30-minute, 45-minute flights, okay, fine. That's good. That's great. Let's do it. But that's not what any of us want. That's not picturing. That's not what the fantasy is. The fantasy is, floating hotels somewhere in Saturn's orbit, right? That's
right.
Fantasy. And I'm not even sure if that can even happen, much less that anything even.
Okay, we're losing you pretty bad. We're losing you pretty bad. Let's back off it for a second and let you get a better handshake out there. So, Yep, we just lost Cameron. I tell you what, guys, I think we've covered the topic adequately. Cameron? Yeah. Okay. So I think we've covered the topic adequately, and apparently.
Whoa! I just muted myself.
There you are.
I was trying to be polite.
Well, I got the lost signal indicator, so I thought we had lost you. Go ahead.
No, look, I'll button it up. It just, I love it. Okay, my inner fanboy is going squeak. But as much as I love and respect Elon Musk's, brilliance and eccentricity, dude ain't landing on Mars. He's not. I'm calling it now. He ain't landing on Mars.
Ooh, I don't know if I'd back that bet.
If I had to make the bet, okay, because the goal, even if it's a one-way trip, right? He's got to survive on the Martian surface, and y'all, I'm telling you,
okay, now that's a different claim. I have full confidence that Elon will get his team on Mars. I don't doubt for a moment that they're gonna land on Mars. Now, the whole venture, once they land on Mars, may go horribly awry, but I'm very confident that they'll get there.
2-year space flight, man. Ooh,
I mean, it might look like the Vikings landing in America for the first time at the beginning of American Gods, but they'll get there.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm unless there's radical shifts in our technology, I am confident in my prediction. Won't even make it. A 2-year space flight. Ooh, that's tough stuff, man.
They'll kill each other off on the before they get there.
Well, not to mention, not necessarily kill each other off, though. To be fair, do you really like anybody enough to be locked in a tin can with them for 2 years? Like that's rough stuff, man. But then there's everything else. There's the massive decay that's going to occur on their bones and their muscles. There's the logistics of bringing enough food, and if they're 8 months out and their water recycler breaks, they're screwed. Okay.
Yep. So just before we wrap this up, just for everybody watching, that in case you haven't seen the clip from American Gods that I just referenced, here's that. Oh.
Their dreams changed to bread, roasted meats, even a salad would do.
Yeah, so that's going to be Elon's team landing on Mars right there. Apparently there's going to be natives there that they weren't expecting, and they're just going to pump them full of arrows. So, all right. So Cameron, you're good.
Yeah, man, I'm good. I hate to be Debbie Downer about it, but because I'm so fascinated by this, I've put a lot of brain power and a lot of reading into it, and I can't even talk. The logistics are just that much of a nightmare. They really are.
All right. Well, thanks for watching this morning, guys. Y'all be safe out there. We love you, and we'll see you tomorrow.